majority of crime happens at night, and light is your #1 security tool. Over any other thing, light is. Whether it's a good flashlight, whether it's a motion detector light that's attached to your house or your buildings, your shops, or a weapons light. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. Men love darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. And that saying goes true even today. Now, with the advance of LED flashlights, there are some really high quality lights that are on the market. And you know, for years I've had a lot of the cheaper lights, just low end and fairly decent quality. Let's take Maglite for instance, which Maglite's stepping it up with their LED lights. But you know, really you need to invest in good lighting. I mean, we'll spend hundreds if not thousands of dollars on firearms and yet get a flashlight for $10. You really need to invest in your lighting. You know, there's a whole lot of philosophy about putting lights on your weapons or handheld lights or using lights for security along with a firearm. And this is just a general overview. There's a lot of stuff out there right now, and you can spend a lot of money on really high quality lights. But to be honest with you, you can go fairly inexpensively to set up your rifle to be adequate, or your pistol, and to be able to have that security of having light when that bump in the night occurs. Now, of course, there's the weapons mounted light right on your pistol. There's a lot of pistols now that are coming out with the Picatinny rail, and you have a light source on the end, and this really kind of allows you to have two hands on the firearm and yet have access to light if you need it, whether it's momentary or on all the time. There are even some options that just attach right to the gun. This is the beam locker. In fact, I'm doing some testing, some field testing on this system right now to where it just kind of attaches. Very easy to remove, very easy to put on, and it gives you a lot of options with your light. Of course, the beam locker can also be put onto a shotgun. And, this is something that is, like I said, I'm just testing this one right now. Rapid fire, this is not quite as stable as a mounted light. And of course, there are also where you can put, with an extended tube, magazine tube, you can put on different attachments. You can even get Streamlight or Surefire systems that actually are integrated into the handguard. And of course, when we move up to the rifle, you do have your systems where you can actually attach it directly onto a Picatinny rail. There are a lot of different things where you can get small Picatinny rails to fit onto a normal handguard. But just a 1-inch ring fits a lot of these lights very nicely. You can either use the push pad, which really is my preferred choice because it keeps all the wires down. But on the other hand, like this Colaris system, this gives you a lot of options with the pressure pad. So, there's a lot of different things you can do. And it's just according to your preference. And that's the way it is with anything. There are so many different options. And that's what's really beautiful about having a firearm and having different options out on the market. You're not stuck with just one way. And so you can choose what's best for you. Most of the time around the house, I have this little lightweight 442 Smith & Wesson 38 Special in my pocket. And it's just so lightweight, so easy to carry. And then I carry this little Jet Beam Raptor, which, really puts out a lot of lumens. This is what I carry. And so if I'm going to need something for security, this is a lot of times would be more of a spur of the moment. Now, if I'm going and I hear something at night while I'm asleep, I'm more out to take something that's a little larger and a little more capable, just because. But most of the time that doesn't necessarily mean when crime hits is not when I plan. So I have to be proficient with the system that I use. And two, I usually carry a little bit of a larger flashlight if I'm just walking around and I know that there may be if I'm alerted to something where there may be a possible threat or a danger. Now, I've been shooting guns most of my life, and whether it's just at the range shooting targets, going out with the friends, out to a field or something and setting up some stuff and just having some fun, skeet shooting, of course, competition shooting. But when you consider the majority of crime happens at night, then we really need to be training for that end. And, really, I can count on my hands how many times I've been out at night shooting. And, really, there's a lot of obstacles to that because, going out and shooting at night raises a lot of questions and concerns with maybe neighbors or people around. Of course, ranges typically won't let you shoot in a dark situation at night. So, you have to be very adaptive. And you may have a place to shoot at night, and I'm going to encourage you greatly to do that, to get out of your comfort zone and get out at night and to shoot. And you say, well, man, I really don't have a place to shoot. Well, if you don't at night, then you need to dry fire at night. Go out behind your house. Of course, you don't want to scare your neighbors or anything, but you definitely need to do some dry fire practice if nothing else. Of course, make sure your gun's unloaded, make sure you're safe, but go out and take your light, shine it around, find places, be able to make sight acquisition. It's very important. It's totally different in the dark. I've got a lot of friends in law enforcement, and they do that. They train night shooting because that's really where most of your shooting occurs. So you want to go ahead and be able to find those sites. You may have night sights. That's great. And that's really what the most training I've done is doing a lot of dry firing or just handling my pistol, pointing it in certain directions, and being able to get that light on a target, being able to see the silhouette of my sights. It's a really important way and a great way to be able to practice and to supplement your night shooting. Now, when it comes to security, there's a great debate about how to use your light in a situation. And really, a lot of people are going to the gun-mounted flashlight that's on your gun. It's dedicated to your gun. It really is nice because it points exactly where a threat may be, and you can see it, and if there is a threat, you can react immediately. But there is a downside to that. And one of the things could be, you hear a bump in the night, you go down with your gun, you have your light on, and then you run into your teenage son that's down in the kitchen that's knocked over some pans. And you find yourself pointing a loaded weapon at an innocent person. Or you may be behind the house and a neighbor. You may point the light at a neighbor. That can not only be a dangerous thing, but there also can be a lot. Recently, while I was researching a lot of things about lights, I read an article by Massad Ayoob, one of the greatest gunfighting experts in the world. And he was addressing the different modes of carrying a gun. And one of the things that he agreed on is that when you're pointing this gun and you point this light, wherever the light hits, if it hits your son or your daughter or your wife or whoever, that you're pointing a live loaded weapon at that person. And there can be liability if it's someone that's not necessarily in your family. And just the mental anguish of actually having a loaded gun pointed at your child is enough to really undermine your confidence in a real situation. Carrying a small firearm like this, you're not necessarily going to have a light attached to it. You can have, of course, the laser systems are really nice. But if you're carrying a flashlight like this, and many of us already know the system where you can rest your arm and have this underneath to be able to give you a support. The only problem with this is you have a one-handed grip, and your accuracy is going to suffer somewhat more than it would if you had a two-handed grip. But this is a great way. Now, of course, a lot of people, and it would be the same with a light-mounted weapon, is saying you're telegraphing where you are. Once that light shines, they know where to hit. And for a number of years, the FBI would hold the light out at arm's length and then point the pistol in the direction and hold it out. Of course, that really doesn't give you any base, and your accuracy will also hurt there. Listen, your accuracy is going to be degraded in a dark situation already. And doing this is definitely going to be even added to that. So, you need to practice, work on these different modes to be able to be proficient. If you can practice and get this out and get your practice down and be able to hit your target, then that's great. But you may need support. You may need a two-handed grip. What I'm going to suggest, and this is really what I'm going to recommend in the overall, even if you are carrying a light-mounted weapon, I think it's very important for you to have a small flashlight or a supplemental light to be able to point around and to investigate something that may be going on. And then if you really need to, you can bring this weapon to bear and to be able to defend yourself. And actually, that was Massad Ayoob's recommendation as well. So whatever your choice is, I want to highly recommend that you get out and train, that you get out and take your weapon out and point it around. You know, even going through your house at night and being able to check all the areas that may be danger points is a great way to really build your confidence and give you the skill set that you need in case you ever are faced with an intruder. And as always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more fun gun reviews and sensible survival. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Go ahead and try to find a place to practice. Now, there's an obstacle with that. I don't like any of that. The majority of crime happens at night. Thus the old saying, men love darkness rather than light because their eeds are evil. Because their eeds are evil.